Americans have been processing the Mueller report, but meanwhile, President Trump faces a range of investigations following his debts and his money here in Manhattan. New York Attorney General Letitia James has jurisdiction over Trump Tower, the Trump Organization, and the now hobbled Trump Foundation. She won office recently, just last year, campaigning on the message that nobody is above the law.
He built his wealth off the backs of New Yorkers.
We need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. All of those transactions have happened here in New York City. Tell this president and every other individual that no one is above the law.
And there are signs that this newly powerful prosecutor is doing exactly that, suing the Trump Foundation, saying Trump caused his charity to effectively break the law while stepping up the legal fight against what remains of Donald Trump's travel ban, also investigating real estate deals and subpoenaing Trump's financial records from Deutsche Bank and looking at hiring practices that range all the way out to Trump's Westchester County Golf Club. James was continuing her work today in Washington, but at the Supreme Court, hearing arguments on a different battle, the Trump administration's attempt to add a new citizenship question to the all-important census. And she is part of an effort leading 18 states, including New York, to sue the Census Bureau, arguing that this entire effort is effectively a way that the Trump administration would put a thumb on the scale and even suppress political participation for immigrants, which of course could affect the funding for generations, long after Trump might be out of office. Here was the scene right outside the Supreme Court today with protesters and others concerned about this citizenship issue. NBC reporting the Supreme Court asked questions that suggest it might be open to accepting Trump's position that this does need to be a question on the census. But we still don't know until the court rules. I'm joined now by New York Attorney General Letitia James, who also was inside the courtroom. Thanks so much for being here on a day like today.
Thank you, Ari, for having me.
Before I get to what you think about it, I'm just curious from a news perspective, what did you see in the courtroom? Where were the justices headed?
A number of thoughtful questions, but it was clear that there were some members of the court who wanted to prioritize citizenship over an accurate census count in our country, and it would fundamentally undermine the census. And the enumeration clause of our Constitution talks about counting population. It doesn't talk about just counting citizens, but counting all Americans and all individuals in our country, which is really critically important because it goes to the apportionment, it goes to the individuals who will represent us in Congress, and two, it goes to the distribution of funds from the federal government. And if, in fact, the count is undermined, then it will result in a reduction of funds to New York State, the state that I represent, to countless other states that were represented here today. This is really a question about states' rights and about standing up for an accurate count and ensuring that the Supreme Court of the United States of America has a role in deciding whether or not this question should be on the census form.
Yeah, you lay that out, and I think factually that's what's so important. This is the blueprint once a decade that decides everything in federal funding and so many other, as you put it, rights of citizens. As a state that obviously does have a view here, you've been advocating against the Trump administration. What do you think was the argument that did best at the court, that fared best in trying to appeal to those justices today that this is fundamentally potentially unfair?
That the secretary decided to do this. Basically, I believe it was Justice Sotomayor who put it best, and she said this was a solution in search of a problem, and there has not been a problem. And the reality is that the enumeration clause talks about making sure that we have an accurate count, and it talks about our population. And it's really critically important that New York State be protected since we have a significant number of individuals who are undocumented and a large Latino community.
So can I ask you I want to ask you the non-legal question, even though we're both lawyers. For just anyone tuning into this and saying, wow, the Supreme Court's hearing this today, the Trump administration is well known, agree or disagree, they are known for a very hardline stance against immigrants, including immigrants who are in this country. Isn't it unfair to push a question that forces people to choose between volunteering for their own risk or safety or telling the truth? I mean, just before we get to the law, doesn't that seem like an unfair fix?
particularly given the environment that we're in today and across this country. There are a countless number of immigrants right now who are hiding in the shadow, afraid of government, and that should not be the case. And clearly, if in fact we had the citizenship question on the census, it would result in a suppression of the count, and it would severely have an impact on New York and other states across this country, which have a significant number of immigrants, undocumented individuals, and individuals in the Hispanic community in particular. And we do not want that to happen, and that's why this citizenship question has not been on the census since 1950. And experts within the Department of Justice and in the Census Bureau basically argued against the secretary from putting this question on the census. And so we stand with those professionals, those individuals who have been a part of the Department of Justice and the Census Bureau for a very long time. And we should not politicize the census because it is key. It is key to apportionment and it is key to federal funds. And I have a duty and an obligation and a responsibility to defend the rights of New Yorkers. And that's why I was in Washington, D.C. to stand up and defend New York State against a citizenship question which would undermine our count and significantly reduce the amount of federal funds that we receive each and every year.
New York represent. I know that's part of your job, as you say, and you take your oath of office seriously. And before I let you go, I also want to ask you, we showed on your introduction how forthright and strong you were when you were running for office. You spoke directly about a famous constituent of yours, President Donald Trump. Now that the Mueller probe has finished, although there are these other criminal referrals, do you view your efforts to try to make it clearer or easier for New York to prosecute cases if they get a federal pardon? Do you view them as less important now? Do you think it's unlikely that the president will pardon anyone at this point in the Mueller probe?
Ari, all that I can say is that we are working with the New York State Legislature to address the pardon loophole, and two, we are continuing with our investigation. That's all I can say at this point in time.
I think that people around the country who've learned about prosecutorial techniques, including Bob Mueller's famous no comments, know what you're doing. And the journalists among us always look for longer answers, but I get you. And I know that this is an issue on the census you've been working on for a long time, so I appreciate you telling us about it on The Beat tonight.
Thank you, Ari. I really appreciate it. It's really critical and important that the United States Supreme Court get this right, and I hope that they would agree with our arguments. And I want to thank our Solicitor General, Barbara Underwood, for doing an excellent job in arguing the case today.
Well, it's fascinating to watch, and as I say, you've had a front row seat, a driver's seat, really. We'll see what they do. We'll be covering it. New York Attorney General Letitia James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.